Grace and peace to you all. Wholeheartedness is something where you've given yourself completely to something. And I particularly keep on repeating Psalms 9 in my heart as I also pray to the Lord for guidance in various areas. Um, and Psalms 9, 1 and 2 says, I will praise you, O Lord, with my whole heart. It's my whole heart. You know? So that's what I pray for you guys today as you commit yourself to the Lord and seek to walk in His way. At times, many a time, when you really press in the way of the Lord, you get a lot of resistance, and a lot of people actually throw hate and shade towards you. But wholeheartedness says that you don't relinquish, you don't turn back because you're getting hate for it. You serve Him even more with your entire heart. You have nothing to lose. You run the race like that. And that's interesting because it kind of parallels what Keith Thurman was saying about, people were saying, that he needs to win back over the fans and stuff. And Keith Thurman was like, look, man, I can't care about the fans like that, because they're going to say what they have to say. When I go in the ring and I really become undisputed welterweight champion of the world, what are they going to say then? They're always going to have something to say. And I think that's true about life in general. People who hate you for whatever reason, they're going to say what they're going to say about you. That doesn't keep you back from doing what you believe and give your whole heart towards. If you give your whole heart to Christ, it doesn't matter how people treat you or think of you or what they do. You just have to commit yourself to Him and walk in His way. And I'm learning to do that now every single day, more and more, and become bolder with it. But always staying in tune with my Father, always staying in tune with the Lord. And He answers us, man. He answers us, and He's faithful, So, in my personal experience, in my personal walk, I'm learning that. And I'm telling you guys, sometimes you're going to be wondering why you are where you are. It's kind of natural to happen. But when that happens, remember to talk to God about it. Don't talk to other people. Leave that in your closet. Because when you talk to God, he straightens it out pretty quickly. Keith Thurman, man. Keith Thurman is back. And boys, is the dude talking already. And he said a couple of things which are very true. And it's interesting. He was talking about healthcare. And healthcare basically is taking care of your health, right? And his father has gone back to using things to control his diabetes, basically, which I found to be really wonderful, because diabetes is a curable disease. It is that people don't want to, all diseases are curable. I don't care what disease it is. The question is, are you willing to change your lifestyle and your life habits or listen to people when they tell you good advice, and not just everyone, but people who are telling you good advice? Are you willing to do that? And a lot of people are not willing to change their lifestyles. We already know this. And it doesn't matter what it is. People are not willing to change their lifestyles. And usually that's what kills them. And I have had that history with my dad where I was trying to help him get on what was called a fruit juice diet, where you're still using fruits instead of sugars. And once you don't use it with foods, you couple it with the right foods and so on, it actually carries down your blood sugar levels. But you have to understand, when you're trying to help someone, you're not the only person there. And when there are other cooks in the broth, these people can really mess it up for you. Not only mess it up for you, but they can also feel threatened or angered that their message is not being utilized, and they can then proceed to sabotage your method. Literally, actively try to sabotage it. But it's what it is. I've tried to help people, uh, but you know, the people have to want to help themselves, and the change begins with the person. It does not begin with the person trying to help them. The person themselves must want it. And that's the biggest challenge as a healthcare provider, to motivate people to want to take care of their own lives. In my country, the doctor is seen as a god by a lot of people. And by some other people, the doctor is seen as a devil. The doctor is neither a god nor a devil. It's a person who's trying to do their duty. There are good things to it and bad things to it. But they're not supposed to be worshiped, and they're not supposed to be resented. They are people. They do the best they can with the training they have. And once you treat them like that, then you realize you are responsible for your own health care. You have to go and research it. You have to look out for your best interests. When you start to take your own personal health that seriously and really listen to people who have a track record and results, I think that's where the change actually happens. But if you live in a society where people are either yay or nay about it, and they are always picking one side or another, we have that problem. And it's interesting, he listened to Keith Thurman as he spoke about his father taking care of his own health. It's a combination of allopathic medicine, which is traditional medicine, and also naturopathic medicine, where his father is now using nutrients in the nutritive pathway to regulate his sugar while he may be using insulin or metformin or some other sugar controlling drug until he can come off of them. See, these drugs, insulin, metformin, these were not drugs made for you to live on. They were supposed to be temporal to stabilize your system so that when you come off, you can come off of them once you have adjusted your lifestyle. But people don't want to adjust their lifestyle. And as a result of that, they stay on those drugs and they have very damaging effects. All drugs, especially in traditional medicine, were not designed to be long-term drugs because they were synthesized or extracts from other things. But natural things you can use as long as you want. Just have to carefully, as with any kind of thing, with the dosage you use, and you have to be careful with the balance and amounts you use and in what combinations with other things you use them. So there is care still and concern when you're using your diet. Athletes know about this better than anyone else. But at the same time, like I said before, it's a balance. And it was interesting hearing Keith Thurman talking about his father and his father going into a vegan diet to control and regulate his blood sugar. I thought it was just wonderful to hear. And it's interesting. Diabetes is curable. We know that. You can go up on YouTube, type in diabetes curable, and you see 1,000 different videos with even medical personnel working with nutrition and seeing how these people come off from being diabetics borderline to deep diabetics who are using insulin, see them come off of it because they adjusted their lifestyles. And once you adjust your lifestyle and your eating habits, your lifestyle habits, your mental habits especially, and what you feast your mind on, all of a sudden these people are healthy and they're hiking and they're moving and they're mobile and their blood sugar levels are perfectly under control, better blood sugar levels than some of us out here. And so I just wanted to focus on that. It's where your heart is. There you shall be. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So I decided to use that scripture. I will praise you, O Lord, with my whole heart. And listen, praising the Lord and glorifying him is also in being obedient to him. And a lot of people are disobedient. And you see their rebellious spirit and the hard-necked, the stiff-neckedness in the way how they conduct themselves and how they don't listen to the voice of God through sometimes other people or through situations. It's just very interesting how people are so inflexible to changing their lifestyles. People are comfortable in their lifestyles and they're willing to die for their lifestyles. And that's the thing we see. And we see it prevalent throughout society. We see it prevalent. And it's just a sort of what we call pompous, a pride and arrogance people have. Oh, you can't tell me what to do. Therefore, I will kill myself how I feel like it. And it's that kind of attitude that we see daily basis. You see people eager to itching ears to hear negative things about themselves. It's really weird. And you have to change that lifestyle where you focus only on the negative things about yourself, where you focus on If you're sick or ill and you want to get better, then you have to get your mind state in a place where you think of yourself getting better. You don't fool yourself, but at the same time, you have to start thinking that. Because when I was homeless in the United States of America, I was not thinking about staying homeless. Oh, hell no. I was looking at ways to get out of that situation as soon as possible. That's what you have to do. You have to start mentally projecting towards the place you want to be at. Otherwise, you're going to stay in that rut. And a lot of people stay in ruts. They stay in ruts because they focus on things and they let certain things in their present situation consume them or their past. So they're never projecting towards the future. They're never looking towards the future, and they're never hopeful. You can't move like that, and you have to know what's best for you. Nobody else can tell you that. And you have to be able to get instruction from God. And so I just thought I would elaborate on that scripture before I go into Keith Thurman. But I think a lot of things Keith Thurman says, I can take and use, from the scriptural passion to push us forward as people, as Christians in the Christian community, because I think a lot of us are weak-minded. A lot of us are faithless. I'll be honest with you. A lot of us don't have faith in God at all. And I am challenged myself at times, but at the end of the day, we have a lot of faith. There's as they say, a perverted and faithless generation. A lot of people are faithless. And when we have to, as people of God, inspire them to keep that faith in God, so many miracles could happen because of just simply prayer. Simply prayer. I've seen it daily, on a daily basis. I've seen God, the prayers answered. And so I just press forward towards the mark, and I keep on praying as well and moving forward towards the mark, because man, it's one of those things where you just have to stay in Christ. You have to stay in God every single day. Anyways, before I go to sleep, let's talk about Keith Thurman. So Keith Thurman is in boxing. Keith Thurman said, first of all, he said, because a lot of people had the perception that he was ducking and trying to stay away from boxing. First, he said, man, I get paid this way. You think I don't want to get a paycheck? That's the first thing he said. And then the second thing he said is, look, man, people are going to say what they want to say about me. I had an elbow injury and I had a hand injury. I didn't want to stay out of boxing. He said, if you guys know me, I have a passion for boxing. And he was speaking basically about the fact that his whole heart is in the sport. And like I said before, if you have your whole heart in God, and I know a lot of us don't have our whole heart in God. I can tell you that for a fact. Why? Because if you love something so much, you're going to talk about it all the time. You're going to talk about it all the time. It's going to be in the tip of your mind all the time. And I know some of us have other things on our minds before we have God on our minds. God's not the forefront in our minds. We know this. All of us know this. We rob time also. We don't spend time, trying to delve in to know more about God. Whether it's sitting in nature, whether it's reading our Bibles. Let's be real. Let's not lie about that. All right? You hear the voice of God tell you, man, you need to sit down right now and have a little talk with me. And what do? We step out and we do our own thing. Well, all right then. You know what I mean? So we still we're not wholeheartedly in God. And a lot of us know that. And I could tell you, just based on our behaviors, I could tell when somebody is still not there in terms of with God all the time. You can tell. But anyway, at the end of the day, it's the wholeheartedness, immersing yourself in God, immersing yourself in the Spirit. That's the most important thing. You may fail some tests or whatever, but you always talk to him. You always keep him in the forefront. Remember, God's everywhere, man. So Keith Thurman said to them in the interview, he's speaking, and he said, no, man, of course I have the love for boxing, man. But I don't have nothing to prove. Everything that needs to be proven will be seen in the ring. I don't need to prove nothing. I don't need to, I don't have to care about what the fans think about me like that. And I think that's the truth. You can't prove nothing to nobody. You just have to let the results show what they show. And the results is what makes the difference. You know what I mean? And there was one more thing Keith Thurman talked about, which makes perfect sense to me, which is why I said Terrence Crawford can't be considered pound for pound number one in the world. And everybody's talking about Terrence Crawford is the number one welterweight and all this stuff. How you dub this guy that? How you dub Terrence Crawford the number one welterweight and he ain't even faced a number one welterweight in the world? how you become the best welterweight in the world and you can beat Errol Spence and you can beat this one and you never even faced guys like that. He ain't even faced a top tier welterweight yet. And Keith Thurman really made that point resoundingly clear when Keith Thurman talked about Danny Garcia, talked about Errol Spence Jr., Sean Porter. These are top welterweights, right? Not to mention we got other top welterweights. The welterweight division is really stacked, of which Keith Thurman has faced 2 of them. And Terrence Crawford hasn't faced anyone who's a top welterweight. Manny Pacquiao's there as well. And it looks like Keith Thurman or Errol Spence or Danny Garcia, will have a quicker shot at Manny Pacquiao than Terrence Crawford will. Right? Mikey Garcia is making a legacy out of himself when he faces Errol Spence Jr. You know what I mean? You look at the welterweight division, who's Terrence Crawford faced in those top guys? He didn't even face a Kell Brook. He's faced nobody. Keith says he has no respect for Terrence Crawford right now at welterweight because he faced no one at welterweight. People say, well, Jeff Horn beat Manny Pacquiao. Yeah, but what did he do other than that? I could show you Danny Garcia's rap sheet at welterweight. I could show you Sean Porter's rap sheet at welterweight. I could show you Keith Thurman's rap sheet at welterweight. Shoot, man, I could show you Errol Spence's rap sheet at welterweight. Errol Spence fought Kell Brook, the #1 welterweight in the world. All right. Who Terrence Crawford faced? Nobody. So Keith Thurman's right. He has to prove himself at welterweight before we could even talk about him being a top welterweight. So I think Keith Thurman has a point. And just to make my point abundantly clear, Keith Thurman's not talking out of a vacuum, right? He faced top welterweight Sean Porter, WBC welterweight champion Danny Garcia. All right, so Keith Thurman can talk because he faced 2 top welterweights: the current WBC champion and the former WBC champion. And these guys got good rap sheet. This is two-time welterweight champion. This is 1-time welterweight champion. Okay? Legit champions. Right? So Keith Thurman has all right to say that. And Keith Thurman said he's a legitimate welterweight, like Errol Spence Jr., like Sean Porter. M3 is legitimate welterweights. I think Porter's the biggest of them. So I was listening to Keith Thurman with his different discussions and stuff. It's good to see 1-time back. And he's back in the ring. It's a good time for him to be back because we got these top dogs like Danny Garcia and Sean Porter. All Keith Thurman really has to face now is Errol Spence. And he would have faced all 3 of the really big top names in welterweight. He wouldn't have faced Terrence Crawford because Terrence Crawford is out there on the other shores, stranded. Right? He ain't got nobody to fight, really. Until he comes across to the PBC and makes a fight. But other than that, I mean, you're looking at some of the best welterweights out there, and Terrence Crawford ain't faced one of them, not one of them. So till he does, Keith Thurman can't really give him any respect. I get it. As a welterweight, that is. He did his thing at junior welterweight, and even Keith Thurman said at junior welterweight they didn't have a strong division like the welterweight division has, right? Talking about some serious guys in the welterweight division. So until Terrence Crawford faces one of those guys, we really can't put him above those other guys there in that division. Just can't. And they have him as pound for pound #1 in the world, and I don't know how that's possible because, once again, if you look at the level of competition Terrence Crawford has faced to become undisputed world champion, it does not compare to what Keith Thurman has faced. Errol Spence, Danny Garcia, or Sean Porter. It just doesn't. And Keith Thurman made another point, which I think is very sensible, which is that this is the biggest, this is the largest, or this is the strongest, biggest division in the small weight classes because it's the highest division in small weight classes. It is the last division with 8-ounce gloves. After that, you go a pound above, you have to wear 10-ounce gloves. Okay, so basically, it is the biggest, smallest division, or biggest, smaller division of all the lower weight classes. So that's the division Terrence Crawford is in. He has to prove himself in that division first. As Keith Thurman said, he fought a guy with a shot victim who was crippled and flat-footed. It doesn't mean nothing, you know. I mean, I would love to see Terrence Crawford versus Danny Garcia. See how if he could stop Garcia, it's not happening. He's not stopping Garcia. First of all, we all know that, but I mean that would be a good matchup for him. Errol Spence Jr., you know, everybody's talking about Terrence Crawford, but he has done nothing to prove that he could face an Errol Spence Jr. Nothing. You know what I mean? He definitely ain't stopping Errol Spence Jr. He's crafty, he's skilled, but he's done nothing to face a guy like that. He's showed nothing against a Sean Porter. How do I know Sean Porter could face him? I didn't know he's able to face a Sean Porter. You know, and size and strength does matter when you go up higher weight classes, right? And we saw it in the punch outs when guys throw a punch and hit the, the punch rack meter, and you see the higher weight classes punch harder, obviously, because they're heavier, right? They're bigger. So every now and then you get somebody from a low weight class punching pretty hard. But again, strength is not just in punching. Strength is also in, can you move the other opponent around the ring, body him, rough him up, that kind of thing. So, you know, which leads us to Mikey Garcia versus Errol Spence. And Keith Thurman, you know, Mikey Garcia said he saw something in his Errol Spence's fight against Lamont Peterson and it formulated a plan to deal with that. And I have no doubt Robert Garcia and his dad is going to get Mikey ready for that fight. Mikey's not going to get knocked out as much as you guys think he will. I don't think so. I think he's got too much skill for that to happen. And I think he's not going to stand directly in front of Errol Spence and do a shootout. I think he's going to very, very well tactically and skillfully work his way around. But as Keith Thurman said, Errol Spence has a big reach advantage over Mikey Garcia. And, you know, he could hook Mikey while Mikey's throwing a jab and stuff like that. You know, I just don't see Mikey being so fundamentally simple. I think he's going to cut different angles on Errol Spence, and then we'll see. Errol Spence is very athletic. He's very strong. So it should be interesting. But Errol Spence don't hit that hard as much as people think. He's just much more accurate, and he accumulates punishment on people. But he's not the heaviest hitter in the world, which I thought was very interesting. So I've seen other fights where Errol Spence got beaten. You know, I was getting punches were landing on him. He had to box and try and fight off the back foot, and he almost got beaten by a certain fighter. So I could see. I mean, he was more inexperienced, and he added more stuff to his game, but he still gets hit. And if you're not just one straightforward guy walking to him, trying to walk him down, I think you got a good chance. He's got a good jab, though. He's got a good jab. He tries to head control his opponent to get in too close. He got that straight left uppercut that he throw behind his jab. But at the end of the day, I still don't think he's definitely he's fallible. There's ways to beat him, but people sometimes don't think they think he's so strong that when you land a punch on him, it won't get him hurt. But I saw Lamont Peterson land some punches on him, and I saw him wince and reset. So I think that Mikey sees that. Even though Thurman's wary of it, you know. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. Man, I gotta go to sleep. I was tired.